just to calibrate a face and name, this is Ivan. Alex, it was good seeing you in LA that last time. I hope you remember we had a quick little chat in the hallway at the LA Convention Center. But John, good to meet you. Christian, we meet again. And Ryan, hope to get to know you too.
Yeah, likewise.
I see your serious gaming chair behind you.
Everyone noticed that.
That's when you know someone's serious, because traditional people just have the standard issue IKEA. But when you got the gamer's chair, you're like a level up.
Thank you.
We're only missing Jay, Ivan. So if you want to PM him or something like that on Jay Zhao.
Yeah, we just sent him a message.
Huh?
We just sent him a message.
Yeah, see if he's gonna respond.
Hey Steve. Oh, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
You're a hockey fan?
Big time, yeah. Diehard Ranger fan.
Oh, nice. Uh-oh. I'm in California. I'm a Ducks fan, unfortunately.
Well, you've had some success, probably more than us over the last 15 years or so.
Yeah. But that just means you're due.
Yeah, they've been saying we're due for a long time.
Think of the Red Sox and some of the other teams that waited a long time.
If I have to wait that long, I won't be around for that next time.
Well, it's you pass it down to your ears.
Yeah, so we're going to start populating the chat now. But Steve, right, CEO of Voyager, I've watched some of your videos on I think you were on CNBC Cheddar a while back ago, and Dirk coming in Upland.
I was on Cheddar right after Alex the same day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, we were back to back.
No, and the funniest thing is we were supposed to have a meeting in our office like 20 minutes later.
Yep.
And we were like, let's just have the meeting at the NASDAQ, you know?
Yeah, we just did it on the floor of the exchange. It was great.
Like the good old days, you know?
That's right. It brought me back to some of those days.
Yeah.
Dirk, nice to meet you with Upland. Big fan of your work.
Oh, really? Oh, you know us? Okay, great. Hi. Good.
Yeah. It's hard not to notice that llama with the spectacle.
Yeah. It's our hero, yeah.
German llamas.
Yeah.
Is
kind of.
Vinay, with I remember the William Shatner Hollywood Association here. Do you pronounce it materia?
But the what? The?
Oh, for Vinay.
Now we're gonna wait for people to start populating in, and then we can go and get started. Oh, hey, David.
Oh, David.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
David Werner.
Nice to be here. Nice to see everybody.
Glad you got in, brother.
Yeah, all you guys over at Crowdcreate.
David, you should meet Dirk, actually. David's with Ink Games. They have a very interesting gaming referral platform, and it has a similar take to the way that you guys do virtual real estate. They do zip code.
And actually Ryan too. So
yeah, we're gonna get started. We're gonna get started soon. But yeah, I wanted to just explain the playing field, so everyone's here is a thought leader in their own, and it's just this is a discussion among peers rather than the pulpit, and this is why we see this as a mastermind where kind of sharing what people are seeing from their own perspective to help someone else. So yeah, we're all looking forward to what's going to happen in a few days in the happening, and it's going to be a wild ride.
Okay. Yeah. Well, nothing's happening, right? Let's see.
Well, we'll see. But as of right now, it's been hovering.
We'll get some predictions at the end on that. See who's right. Maybe we'll start a pool so that the winner gets to win a prize. Whoever's closest to being right.
Yeah, Will, maybe we can win a dinner with you.
There you go. But as heavy as I've gotten during this Corona stuff, I'd probably eat the whole dinner. So you probably don't want to win anything with food around for me right now until I lose some of this weight.
Well,
my wife My wife put the scale next to my side of the bed in the morning and just walked away. She didn't say anything.
Yeah, take a hint.
Just brutal, man, brutal. I'd rather be just beaten up than take that abuse, you know.
Like deals, you got to follow the road signs, right? You got to follow the signs. I love it.
Ouch.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of you guys are probably in California. I'm in southern Utah, and you almost don't even know there's anything going on here. I mean, the stores are open, the lakes are full, people are shopping, restaurants are open, but they have seating like 5 feet apart. But it's been a nice place for this because for some strange reason we just haven't had literally any economic effect from it, and it's been good because all around us people are losing jobs and shutting down, and very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm in Manhattan, and on a normal day, it would take you an hour to go to cross town, right? Cross the island. Now you can do it in 5 minutes. I mean, there's just no traffic.
Yeah, don't get spoiled, Alex.
None of the streets are open. None of the stores are open. There's no traffic. There's no one walking around.
The air's a lot cleaner too, isn't it, Alex?
New York usually has pretty good air. There's no problem. It's not like LA. You know, LA I hear is like a huge difference, but New York is air quality is pretty good. It's more about just I think everybody ran out of town a few weeks ago, and they haven't come back. So.
I heard in the suburbs they had 18 offers on some of the suburban homes out in different places outside of New York. So on the real estate circuit,
Really?
18 offers on one home.
It's
Right.
crazy. Yeah, I'm up outside of New York in Connecticut, and house values were dropping before this, are now rising again, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
It's most people want to live close to the train or in the city, but now they want space and they want to move, a further distance from the city to give themselves some.
The safest place is in the city. There's no one who can infect you. It's totally empty. I mean, I'm serious. You can go to sleep on 3rd Avenue and you will not be run over. I mean, it's like just empty. So there's no one to infect you. It's but anyway.
It was weird. I came into the city 2 Saturdays ago to our office to get some stuff out early, like 8 a.m. And just driving up Park Avenue, 3rd Avenue, it was empty. I've never seen it like that in 30 years I've been working. Never seen it.
Here.
Unbelievable.
30 years I've never seen anything even close.
Nope. Even after 9/11, the city was still a buzz. There was parts of the city you wouldn't go to, but it was a buzz. There was nothing. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
right. Covered all the topics. We can move on now.
Yeah, the oldest saying in the
Next
world is it's a ill wind that doesn't blow somebody some good, or find a silver lining in every cloud, right? So this is a great example. But I don't think people will come back from their establishing their home offices more and more, even the ones that were in the bigger offices and complex. I wonder what will happen to the commercial side of real estate in urban areas. It's going to be a interesting ride for the next 12 months. So, and with the states needing income, we won't even get on that one yet, because certainly that's going to open the doors for gaming and legal sports betting and some other digital applications in my mind. So
The world's going to blur. The digital world, the physical world, more and more.
yes,
That's what's going to happen.
that's right. And digital assets.
I'm doing, I think it's next week, I'm doing a 100% virtual conference where I am an avatar. Everybody who's presenting is an avatar, but the screen has the real slides. So, and everybody in the crowd is represented by an avatar. So it's like the Matrix with the low resolution. It's like, it's coming.
Yeah, let's light this candle here, and appreciate everybody coming on. My name is Will Walker. I'm VP of Business Development at Crowdcreate. And this is the second Mastermind video webinar that we're doing. I call it the CCC series. It's the Crowdcreate Corona Mastermind series. So think CCC, right? And we're excited to have you here, both participating as a high-level audience and as well as our valued experts that we have on our panel today, which I think you'll all appreciate and get some very valuable insights to move forward. You know, the landscape is always changing, and certainly in digital, as we all know, and the corona and other events that happen only perpetuate new ideas and exciting thoughts and certainly opportunities that we really want to put this series together as a thought leader type of organization, not only for these live chats and Q&A sessions, but after the fact, so that we can share ideas, we can share concepts, we can support each other, that type of thing, and really move forward and come out of this all in a much stronger, more profitable way, which I know we want to do. So grab your digital Dos Equis, notice, and take a seat. We've got a great lineup here on Cinco de Mayo. Notice how I didn't say grab your Coronas, because that would have been bad taste. So I went to switch this all to digital Dos Equis. How about that? So should be pretty cool. Anyway, so great to have you on board, and I'm going to go to our first speaker here, and that's Christian Kameir. And Christian is a founder of Sustany Capital. It's a leading blockchain VC, and they are responsible for many successful projects, capital raising, that type of thing. And Christian wrote a great article recently. I don't know if he's going to talk about it, but I hope he does. About raising capital for blockchain projects. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the founder of Sustany Capital, Christian Kameir.
Well, I'm just a co-founder. Don't forget Carl. But anyway. So yeah, I'm going to basically just lead into that article that we published recently by doing a very abbreviated version of my usual talk that I've been giving for like 5 years at this point in time, which is the state of blockchain. As a fund, we're using a very thesis-driven approach, which means that we're using the scientific method. And so initially, when we started out this particular investment project, we came from investing in peer-to-peer solutions starting as early as 2000, where we were investing in voice over IP solutions and also in multi-massive online player games. So from our perspective, virtual currencies and peer-to-peer solutions are obviously sort of an old topic. As such, we were one of the first allocators to the space. We founded the Ethereum meetups here in Orange County. And so the way I'm presenting this is basically how we see it as tech investors, given that particular background, right? So with this particular caveat, keeping that in mind. So this is the tech investor's perspective. First of all, I think a lot of people seem to be skipping the original white paper. I would specifically encourage everybody to at least read the title again, because I'm still waiting for the peer-to-peer cash system. We still don't have that. We can go in a lot of detail later on that. But as investors, we don't invest in blockchain. What I mean by that is we didn't invest in internet, right? We invest in the innovations that these particular solutions provide. And they are specifically, the main invention of blockchain-based solutions is that of self-executing codes, which people often call smart contracts, which is kind of the marketing term for the same thing. And those enable a couple of different things, i.e. the most wanted thing, the digital bearer instruments, which either comes in a native currency as in a coin, as in Bitcoin, or protocol-based currency like a token of sorts in ERC20. Or then lastly, the most important invention eventually, in my opinion, will be that of decentralized autonomous organizations. But in this context, we probably don't have to go into that, but it's one of my favorite topics. Anyway, so this is the problem that most people seem to be suggesting is out there, which is banks and fiat currencies. But actually, these are the solutions that we often see, new tokens, new coins, and so forth. And that's actually not understanding the technology that is money, right? Everybody is keeping going back to this old definition that was created by Jim Mons in 1876, By the way, that was the same year that someone filed the patent for the phone, and the phone certainly doesn't look the same way as it looked in that patent. But money today, as it was defined as medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value, is not that anymore. All those functions are different today, meaning the default medium of exchange has been bytes for decades. The default store of value is definitely not fiat. You're using fiat to actually store value in something else. It's just measured in fiat. So what that means at the end of the day, if you're looking at your current bank account, what's your current bank account? It's a DLT, right? You have a ledger at one bank, I have a ledger at another bank. If you want to send me $100, then your bank will adjust your ledger, then reconcile with the Federal Reserve System. And then next day, if I'm lucky, my bank will adjust my ledger. It's a federated DLT at the moment. So that's why it's always wrong to explain blockchain as being a DLT. So what is money today? Money today is just unit of account. It's just language. If you're looking at the screen and it changes from euro to yen to dollars back, it doesn't matter, right? You didn't do anything, right? It's just the language that you understand value to be today. That is what money is today. So that's why every day, every morning, I get another email that says cryptocurrency adoption. It's a myth. You need to adapt the technology to the user. People will not have not adopted cryptocurrency. It's an utter myth. Will never happen. And for Alex specifically here, obviously, people didn't adopt voice over IP, right? They adopted Skype, they adopted WhatsApp. And now if you ask someone if they're using voice over IP, they will say no. And then you ask them, are you using WhatsApp? They will say yes. Well, they don't have to know. And that's kind of the point, that they're using voice over IP. But more importantly, in that context, I've been using, just as Alex, the term money over IP for some time. And actually, I came to the realization it's a little bit misguided, because money itself is friction, right? We need to remove money from the actual equation. We need to implement technology in its pure form as a protocol in that sense. By the way, blockchains are not protocols, they're applications. So are we tokenizing the world? That's another battle cry we hear all the time. We are far away from that, unfortunately, because money is a very, very simple protocol, if you will, very simply to implement. Blockchains kind of deliver this off the gate. However, most assets and most rights are more complex. What do you need to assign an asset or a right? You need an identity. We do not have useful identity solutions at present stage. We made one investment that's identity related. Most of the other ones are actually dealing with profiles. They're dealing with data. This is the most important thing missing at present in order to advance blockchain-based solutions. So then we were always working backwards, and that leads into the article that you mentioned. Well, with working backwards from what's the addressable market? What's the total addressable market, right? Because if we are giving you $100 million, we need to be able on a napkin, ideally, to make an algorithm and a simple math that explains to us, if you give you $1 million, how do you make $100 million out of that, right? And you need a market for that. And oftentimes we hear something like, well, the total addressable market of my software that addresses a problem in the real estate is the value of all real estate. Obviously, that's not the case. It's whatever you can extract in terms of the revenue you can generate from people that will use the software. So if you're looking at the big buckets, I have a big whiteboard here that has all the big buckets of money, right? And by money, I mean that's just a label that we are assigning to certain buckets, right? So derivatives being the largest bucket, and then from our perspective in our clustering here, venture capital being the smallest bucket. The point there being, though, is some of these buckets in terms of alpha generation will go to zero, i.e. cash payments, remittance. Those we will see as implementations towards customer acquisition tools to where companies, and we see this already, will offer something else of value, some value-added service, and guess what? The payment component is going to be free. And that's just one of many examples, and I don't have time to go into all the other ones, but we publish something every couple of weeks on Forbes or on HackerNoon. The way we typically do this is the first short blurb in 1,000 words on Forbes, and then we basically start the peer review process and and publish something that's longer on Hacker Noon, but the peer review process will obviously never end there. And it's obviously always a moving target. Okay, I spoke very fast. Did I keep it within my 6 minutes?
Yes.
Wow. I'm so impressed by myself.
Big
Okay.
applause. Big round of applause for Christian. Yeah. Anyway, great job as usual, Christian. And, I encourage everybody to read his latest article as well as some of his forthcoming information that he and Carl put out from Sustany. They're just a high quality, great organization that you can take to the bank, for lack of a better word, or to a digital bank anyway. So thanks, Christian. So we're going to move on here. I'm not sure if we found Jay yet. So I'm going to move on to Alex Mashinsky. And Alex is kind enough. He's the CEO of Celsius Network, which is probably the premier lending platform in digital today, and certainly has been on the ground and everywhere in this world that digital is taking a hold. So without further ado, Alex, take it away. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. And before I go on, we have a chat room that's open. So please put your comments and questions in the chat room so we can get to them in the second half of the webinar. Go ahead, Alex.
Sure. Hope you can hear me. A few things. So kind of my title is All Roads Lead to Decentralization, and the topic I think of the blockchain is being just a foot soldier of decentralization, right? I mean, I think if you look at capitalism, works great for the 1%. I'm part of that 1%, but doesn't work so good for the 99%. And the opportunity we have is really to recreate the tools or the pipes that basically feed or propagate capitalism, because the opportunity is to reinvent what we're doing and how we're doing differently. And if you use the blockchain properly, you will have the opportunity to reinvent these services. As an example, today there's 2 killer apps in the crypto world. Bitcoin is the store value killer app, and USDT or Tether is the form of payment killer app, right? It has 90% of the DeFi community activity today. So, and if you look at them, neither one of them kind of replaces an existing service that exists today, either in the banking world, on Wall Street, or on Main Street. It really uses the blockchain to deliver something that has not been able to do before. And in the same way, if you look at Celsius Network and what we've done, which was our focus, was really how do you bring the next billion people into the blockchain? And we focused on paying interest. It is something that is disappearing from this planet. Initially disappeared in Japan, then it kind of became an extinct creature in Europe, and now in the United States we're headed towards negative rates. So just the simple idea that you can earn money on your money by simply depositing your assets is completely vanishing from this planet. And what we focused on is 3 simple services. We pay interest on stable coins, right? Like USDT or 11 other stable coins. And you can earn 8, 9, 10% on that. We pay interest on crypto assets like Bitcoin. Again, that service did not exist before Celsius, and now you can earn 4 or 5% on these assets. And we just launched this week, actually. You can now earn interest on gold, which again didn't exist in 5,000 years. And you can only deliver these services on the blockchain, right? How is it that a small company like Celsius with 60 employees can compete with JP Morgan, right? Or with any major bank anywhere on the planet and beat them at their own game? Because we're not using any of the infrastructure that they're using. So again, so if you're familiar with Peter Thiel's 0 to 1 concept, this is the same thing. You have to think of ideas before you even go to the VCs and try to raise money for your project. You have to think of ideas that reinventing this or that industry and give you that unique, sustainable competitive advantage that you can't really get anywhere else. And today, really, there's a race between three different. It's a three horse race, right? You have basically the blockchain, the public blockchain, which is Bitcoin, right? Represented by Bitcoin and other digital assets. There's over 2,000 of them. You have the corporate version, which is what Libra or JP Morgan is trying to do. And then you have the third horse now, which is what the Chinese government or the US government is thinking about it with the US dollar, right? So there's no room for three winners. There's no room for two winners, right? So the internet needs a form of payment. It needs a digital currency. And the winner is betting for all the money in the world. We're not talking about a little prize here. The prize is bigger than the entire internet because the internet fixed our, a few things like how we communicate or how do we send messages to each other. This is about all the money in the world. So fundraising, there's two ways. Celsius, for example, chose to collect money from the community. We did an ICO, and we used that money to build the product. And today we have over 100,000 users that are benefiting from this product. We collected over 600 million in assets from these users, and we pay them millions of dollars in interest that they cannot earn anywhere else. So it's for the people, by definition, versus what I would call the old model, the traditional model, where you are really building something for the VCs so they could cash out. And Celsius is my 8th company. I've done 7 startups as a founder and raised over $1 billion from VCs. So I'm not saying that I know that path better than most people, but I'm just asking all of the people looking at this to really consider that there is a different way in which you can do good and do well at the same time. I mean, what we focused on is paying 80% of what we make with our customers' money, paying back to the depositor instead of to the shareholder. So these are things that each one of us has to think about. Bitcoin is an exceptional store of value, but it's a horrible form of payment. And the dollar is exactly the opposite. The dollar is an exceptional form of payment, but a horrible store of value. It loses 3 or 4% of its value every year. So think about it that way. Each one of these things have its own unique use case. Okay, I think that covers most of my points. MOIP, or money over IP, it just rhymes with VoIP, so that's why we're, I spent 30-something years working on VoIP. I hope to spend the next 30-something years working on MOIP. So, and again, enabling 7 billion people to earn interest is something that I hope will be my legacy. That is something that no one else has. I mean, the U.S. government, foreign governments are just stealing from its citizens, right? We're borrowing from the future. We're spending it today to create fake GDP so we can report great numbers and get reelected. But our children are going to still have to pay all these debts that we're spending on bailing out the airlines and bailing out casinos and all kind of places. So
excellent.
I'll stop here.
Generational debt, and which is not a good concept. It's a great job. And, my oldest saying and favorite saying, and Jeff and Ivan know this, what gets paid gets done. So, in life in general. So once again, what you're doing as far as the interest in helping people get ahead and really maximizing their efforts is commendable and profitable. So important. Very good. Great job. Okay, so thanks for that. And we're going to move right on over here to Mr. Ryan Wang. And Ryan is the co-founder, general partner of Outpost Capital, and it's based in Silicon Valley. And it's a venture capital fund that is a leader in digital assets, blockchain. We were talking right before the show here about gaming and all the different aspects of specific projects that are coming his way and how he's addressing them and which ones he's choosing and that type of thing. So Ryan, great to have you here, and can't wait to hear about your journey as we move along.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Will, for the introduction and for the invitation. And great to meet everybody here. Glad to be here and glad to share some of my thoughts. What I see, some of the opportunities coming ahead. So a little bit background about myself. I started Outpost Capital about 5 years ago, and we are a Silicon Valley-based VC firm that focuses on frontier technology investment. And that covers, technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, blockchain, obviously, and we also do deals in drones and robotics, digital entertainment, new gaming platforms, and esports. Most recently, we look into a lot of deals in the virtual being sectors as well. So a lot of interesting stuff that's happening in my world. And since the pandemic, for us as a fund, we have slowed down our investment process, but that gave me a lot of time to think about a lot of issues and also to do a lot of reading and to digest some of the informations. So today, I want to share with you some of my new thoughts and some of the new opportunities that I see that emerge in this unique part of the world. If you have any ideas or if you have any recommendations after hearing my thoughts, I'll be more than welcome to talk with any of you to talk further on these topics. So first of all, on the a little bit on our thesis around blockchain and crypto in general. So so far we have invested in the whole ecosystem of blockchain that include infrastructure companies building different type of protocols and dApps on top of these protocols, and we also invested in companies that's not only creating the ecosystem but servicing the ecosystem, and that include crypto exchanges, wallets, hedge fund, crypto media, and also we have a company that's doing crypto mining as well. So we're really we really have invested in the whole ecosystem. And back in the days, we have discussions around whether infrastructure is a better investment or the layer 2 applications on top of this infrastructure will be a better investment. And also, what is the difference between the B2B use cases versus the B2C use cases in the blockchain world. After the crypto crash in early 2018, it feels that the whole crypto world has, in terms of from the application level, has evolved more onto the B2B side. Coming up with some blockchain-enabled solution for some of the enterprise use cases, because that's a place where a lot of revenues can be made, and the team can sustain their the team can build a sustainable business. Whereas, on the B2C side, on the consumer side, at first we see a number of applications on the gaming side, like CryptoKitties, and on the gambling side. But these applications, normally, they didn't take off very well. And it's hard for a company to just start a new blockchain application and also from there grew a network of, millions of users. But these days, I feel that right now is a rare opportunities for consumer applications to rise. But the way to get there is not that, hey, let's start a new blockchain-enabled application from scratch. We need to think about some kind of progressive way to get there. Let's build an application, forget about blockchain or not, let's build an application and let's make sure, the application itself is successful. And progressively, some of the features inside the application can be enabled or can be enhanced through some, blockchain technology. So while you are developing and iterating on the application, you can enable these features by integrating part of the blockchain functions to enable these features in these applications. So that's the first thing. On the second side, since we do a lot of investment in the other sectors outside blockchain as well, we see that there's an interesting intersection of different emerging tech, I think right now the interesting question is how can we apply this technology to some useful and sustainable applications. What I mean by that is that if we think about blockchain, the core value of blockchain is that it's the digitization of value, right? So we digitize value, and value can be passed in a network in the digital format, and that's a core value of blockchain. But if at the same time, if we think about the other type of emerging technologies, for example, artificial intelligence, it's actually a digitization of intelligence. What about virtual reality, augmented reality? It's actually a digitization of perception. So you see different things, you hear different things, you are immersed your perception system in a digital way. So that's a digitization of perception. For example, what is robotics? Robotics is a digitization of the physical body. Before robotics, you have to do everything with your physical body, with your arms, with your legs, to lift stuff from one side of the factory to the other. But now with robotics, you can get the task done in the digital way. So everything is about digitization. And there is some interesting way that we can combine different type of technologies together to get a lot of stuff done. And most recently, we see even on the gaming and esports side, there are a lot of new innovations from that perspective as well. Different type of live events on digital platforms have emerged. And I'm not sure how many of you have heard that there has been a series of concerts on the Fortnite game these days. And the most recent one was a collaboration with an artist called Travis Scott. And when he's performing the concert in the virtual world, there are over 12 million concurrent audience in the Fortnite ecosystem that's attended that concert. And before these digital platforms, things like this cannot be even imagined. But right now, we are in this unique point of time when everybody not only live digitally, everybody live 100% of their time digitally, because we are all stuck at home. So we are forced to live digitally at this point, and that force create a lot of new opportunities in terms of when we want to introduce new consumer behavior to this market. And speaking of this, I want to kind of reach to the final point of what I want to share today, which is we all know that digitization is a one-way street. From now on, we will only be more digitized. We will only live a life that's more digitized than ever. Things like the metaverse is something that's inevitable, right? From the point of Matrix to the new universe like Fortnite or Second Life. We're always on the way to get there to the metaverse, where we have our digital identity, digital lifestyle.
John, and let you have at it for any insights that you'd like to discuss with our crowd.
Thank you, Will. And with respect, I should probably correct the record there before the video gets out. Definitely not one of the co-founders of ConsenSys, and there isn't a company called Baseline Protocol. There is a protocol called Baseline Protocol that I'll tell you about. I am the group executive for ConsenSys.
I stand corrected. I promise I'll learn it for the next one. Go ahead.
Respect. I was late to the prep call, so it's my fault. I'm the group executive for Enterprise Mainnet at ConsenSys. My swim lane is between. So if you're an enterprise and you're working on private blockchain, that's not my lane. And if you're not an enterprise or a business or somebody that has to worry about things like PII, which could frankly be a 4-person startup, they have the same issues as any major company when it comes to security and other issues, then that's not my swim lane. So if you're on the public blockchain doing cryptocurrency, that's not my swim lane. But in between are businesses trying to work together using the public mainnet. And I believe that we are finally in a convergence point for that to start to happen. I saw Preston Byrne on, and Preston was there at my birth of blockchain involvement in 2015 when I helped found IBM Blockchain and ultimately Hyperledger. And that was in the basement of Galvanize in San Francisco in a broom closet, as I recall. And they let a few of us in there. And that's what came of it. I remember inviting Preston over to give us the skinny on Eris and Ethereum and all sorts of things. And I should say that I've got my MBA. I understand finance. I got a B in finance, but it was from Jim Angel, so it was a good B. And there are a lot of people that are good at finance, good at currency, good at payments. And so I've kind of carved out the space that says, I don't care about any of that. I do, and I respect it, but there are enough people covering those lanes. What I care about is the fact that the public mainnet is a pretty nice always-on state machine that I can use as on a pay-as-you-go basis without worrying about being locked out of valid operations or having Dr. Evil or somebody take it over and tamper with history. And I suppose that's my longhand for decentralization and censor resistance, but I like to put it that way to make the point for why businesses should care about it, right? Also, it runs for its own reasons, cryptocurrency, et cetera, ICOs and what have you, that any corporate treasury today is not thinking about and in fact considers verboten. But it runs, and that means it's a bulletin board in the sky. It's a message bus, or if you'll see my video, it's a magic bus. Right, that's why I've got the magic bus on there, mainly because I want to play the song Magic Bus from The Who whenever I talk about it. Magic bus. So if you think about it, right, it's a statement, any in a distributed systems world, right, where a lot of enterprises play SCM, ERP, CRM, the SAPs of the world, the Oracles, the Oracle apps. If you want to look at just databases, which were a miraculous invention, as I recall, back in the 70s and 80s, they require something if they want to work together without making a mess, and that is a common frame of reference, if you want to call it that, just to make it a generalized notion, right? You can have MQ series, you can have Kafka, you can have a you can set up a primary. But one way or another, if you don't want race conditions, non-determinism, and a big giant mess of deadlocks, you're going to need some way of coordinating machine 1 and machine 2. It's just the law of physics for distributed systems. Well, now we've got one. It's really slow and it's really big, and it doesn't scale that well. And who cares? Because as a message bus or as a piece of middleware to manage B2B business process automation, it's sufficient. And even as it is today, and as things like Ethereum becomes ETH2, for example, it gets more performant and more efficient, more scalable, at least to the level that we need it. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that a singleton of any kind, whether it has a consensus algorithm or not, is ever going to be the world computer. I think maybe with apologies to Vitalik Buterin, I think he misspoke a little bit. It's not the world computer. It might be the world's computer. It might be the internet's state service. And I think I'd like one of those so that I can take my SAP system and your Oracle app system or your JD Edwards system and say, hey, this record in my database is verifiably the same record in your database. And the transitions from state 1 to state 2 are done by us identically and verifiably. And I'm going to do that in such a way that the middleware I'm using for that knows effectively nothing about what we're doing, so that I can use it without worrying about leaving breadcrumbs for my competitors to suss out with a good AI. Right. What I don't think is that blockchains are going to be good for putting my private data or running my private business logic, except insofar as they're a pretty good way of tying those things together. Right. And not to be too trite, but I think it's an apt analogy to say that all blockchains, I'm getting a little feedback. All blockchains, which is going to wreck my joke. Yeah, somebody's off mic, or on mic. Somebody's got a live mic.
Like it's Christine.
Yeah, all blockchains effectively are digital nudist colonies, right? And the only difference between a private blockchain and a public blockchain is whether you're on a private beach or a public beach. So I think, and I had some hand in this for my sins when we, came out with Fabric and Hyperledger. We thought, well, hey, look, let's create this shared database where everybody can have control, but none of us is in control of the system through which we do business. We thought that would be a good way of speeding up the process of consortia development. I don't think the data shows that is actually the case. There are some great successes, but they were as hard as any alliance in the past ever was. I've been doing alliances for 30 years. They're hard. And I don't know how we convinced a whole bunch of CISOs that putting your data on a shared state machine where the stupidest admin in your consortium is going to make the rest of you by getting hacked by Mr. Robot one bad day was ever a good idea. I think that doesn't make private blockchains useless, but it does mean that we need to educate pointy-head managers better about what they are and what they should be used for. And when you get right down to it, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot more value in saying, hey, I've got this final silo called the mainnet, and we've been trying to make that a thing. Let's say, it's the capital M mainnet. Let's define that job and then decide who gets to do the job. I'm a partisan for Ethereum at this point in my career, so I'm going to say that. But I think it's intellectually honest to say, let's focus on the mainnet, what the job is for that, and then determine who's good at that job. But the mainnet is something where we can say, hey, it's a final silo. It doesn't have to be particularly fast. It doesn't have to be particularly scalable, but we can use it to achieve consistency and maintain it. And I'll stop there.
Great, John. Thank you for those thoughts and for the Magic Bus tour as well. Love that. So that's one of my favorites too. Who Live It Leads, one of my all-time greats, but albums. Well, listen, that's great. I want to thank everybody. We've got we've got some questions over here in the chat room. I want to encourage everyone. I think we're still missing Jay Zhao. Is that right, Ivan? So he's probably still asleep in the Asian sector. But that gives us more time to kind of interconnect or answer some of the questions. So I'm going to turn this over to my partner and co-founder of Crowdcreate, Jeff McGinnis, and I also want to thank Ivan Khan, who's one of the founders of Crowdcreate too, for running this and setting this up, who's a true technical wizard himself. But Jeff, why don't you see what we've got over in the chat room and who we can connect and have some further discussion on with. See, we got Preston Byrne and some really high-level David Werner.
Yeah, Preston's actually a writer at CoinDesk and gets me, but I know that this is a smaller group, but love to get introductions from everybody else that's in the room, and even just at a high level, who you are, who you work, what are you working on. Dirk Upland, I'd love to hear from you and your side of things actually too.
All right. Hi everyone. My name is Dirk. I'm a co-founder of Upland, which is basically a virtual property trading game. So the press has called us, we're monopoly, based on the blockchain. Everything we do is based on real-world addresses. And we're currently live for the city of San Francisco. So the high-level ideas, and what you see in the background here is our hero. It's Miles B. Chain is his name. It's a llama. Well, llama was pretty clear. But the high-level idea is you purchase a property in our game, which is, again, the real-world address of one property in San Francisco. Then you start earning cryptocurrency on it, or in-game token, which is called Apex. And then we have a lot of gamified loops in there. Let's say you have to collect multiple properties and you increase your earnings, or you have to do treasure hunts and so on. The grander vision is, since we're based on real-world addresses, to eventually merge it with the real world. So people will be able to build on top of the properties. They will be able to develop their own businesses, run businesses, like entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs and so on. So this is the grand vision we're currently building out. We're live since early this year, and what is really unique, we are available across platforms on the web, iOS, Android. We allow crypto in, fiat in on the web, and PayPal and credit cards. So this is also what we don't have with all the games out there. We have lots of tractions. We have lots of large people coming in and buying and selling land. And we soon will announce a large partnership, because we'll also allow fiat out, which is quite huge for games. So we can actually purchase properties and then sell them for fiat to other players. So that's coming in the next couple of days, this announcement. And we're based here in Silicon Valley. So hopefully it was not too long. Everybody knows. Go and we are upland.me. That's where you can go and join the game, or just download on the app stores. But it's better to go on the web.
Dirk, I'm curious, with the lockdown, have you noticed an increase in users and activity?
Yeah, I mean, we do not have a lot of comparison data, because we only launched in early this year. So basically we were just 1.5 months or something without lockdown, right? So it's hard to say. But our users are increasing every day. It's really incredible, and spending quite an amount of money on average in there. So it seems like people, they're home, and of course, gaming and entertainment in general is one of the big industries who probably benefit from the whole industry. But for us, I see, particularly in our cases, since we're merging this digital world with that's something else which can sustain the future, because just imagine when you run your virtual coffee shop in Upland one day, then when there's another lockdown coming, you can still are able to make money, even though you're not really can run your physical shop anymore. So just my 2 cents to that.
That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing, Dirk.
Yeah.
And then we also have Steve. Are you able to kind of share what you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for meeting. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. So thanks for giving me a few minutes here. Voyager is an agency broker for trading and investing in crypto assets. I tend to say I'm the gray hair in the room. I've been in the capital markets since 1994. So I was part of the team that built E-Trade. I was part of the team and led the team that built Lightspeed Financial, and we were doing 450,000 trades a day in 2008. So I take on challenges of bringing new product to retail consumers. Back in 99 was all about E-Trade and online brokerage, and bringing that to a market that no one knew about at that point in time. 2006 was direct access trading and professional traders, and giving them the ability to trade directly into the market. And now, with Voyager, with my co-founding team, which is most notable is a guy by the name of Oscar Salazar. Oscar is the founding CTO of Uber. We built a platform that allows any retail customer an easy fiat on-ramp to go buy crypto, over 30-something coins, and then earn interest on it too, with partners like Alex at Celsius. We allow our customers to trade, earn interest, crypto deposits, withdrawals, and really make it easy for people to be their entry point in learning about this new financial services infrastructure that's coming here. So we think the other side of this virus, we're going to see a bigger and bigger adoption, and we're just growing like a weed. The virus has actually been very good for us. People are at home, they're learning about alternative currencies and they're trading. And so we've seen a growth in our business over the last 2 months that is really similar to the early days of E-Trade. So we're excited about where we're going. bringing more people into the revolution, and look forward to meeting everyone at some point.
Real quick, just a quick question from my private equity side. How much on the institutional appetite side new institutional appetite side are you seeing in your business?
Well, we really focus on the retail side of the world. From a investment standpoint, the one thing I didn't say is we are a public company. We're probably the only publicly traded agency, broker, or exchange, if you want to expand the horizon there. But from an institutional adoption, I think we focus our energies on the retail consumers. That's been my cup of tea for the last 20 something years. And so we let guys like Alex deal with the institutional guys and the big dollars. We want to just get adoption, and we want the smaller retail customers to come in, learn about what we're doing, trade a bit, earn interest on their coins, and we're ever expanding that interest horizon too. So I think just the month of May, we launched a few more. So we're up to about 14 different coins now to earn interest, plus 34 to trade. So that's our MO.
Right. Take from the rich and give to the scale.
Yeah, well, let the little guys participate.
Exactly. There you go. Well said.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, just hearing in the news about Robinhood, that $8 billion valuation, just this new millennial generation just loves like digital products like what you're building at Voyager. It's so much more efficient.
I've been in the capital markets a long time. We could, and there's VC guys on the panel and so forth. 8 billion seems a pretty rich for what they're doing, based upon revenue multiples. But good for them. I think we look at them as a competitive landscape to us on the crypto side, but they focus so much more of their energies on equities, options, and they don't really. They have a crypto offering, but I think it has 4 coins, no deposits, withdrawals, no interest. So it's really not a crypto offering. It's a digital asset offering. But they're doing a nice thing. They brought some recognition to the financial marketplace for millennials.
Yeah, cool.
Good outweighs the bad.
Yep.
That's for sure. Hey, David Werner, thanks for that. David, why don't you tell us what your thoughts are on the future of this digital landscape and what you're working on briefly?
Hey guys, glad to be here. So my name is Dave Werner. My background is business and tech. I started my first internet company in 1996. I was in mortgage banking and real estate back then. So what we did is built a platform that automated the process of doing a mortgage loan through the internet. So we were working with Fannie Mae and Freddie back in those days. And then that platform scaled out to a content management system that was branded for enterprise users. We were B2B, that was our customer. So that was back in the days when Doug Lebda, who started Lending Tree, and I were going around to Southern California doing these little seminars on how the internet was going to change the world in that space. So it's kind of interesting. Blockchain kind of feels like those days because we're going through the same phases of growth. I was in that space for many years, 2010, 11, 12, 13, got into Bitcoin, started doing Bitcoin ATM machines with the Skyhook project. We started putting these things in retail stores in Southern California and did some branding on them. So we were mostly putting together this go-to-market with consumer models for Bitcoin and bringing awareness to that. Since then, I've also had a handful of tech companies that we build different platforms for different industries, direct sales and marketing. We've done a handful of other projects with large companies that have big organizations. We'll come in and automate a lot of that stuff. So right now, I've spent some time, like Will said earlier on, working with a company called Ink Games, which was a pivot from Influence Mine. So we had a mining operation for a period of time, and we were scaling that from a location out in Kentucky that was directly hooked to the dam. So been through some of those mining issues. And in the gaming side, everything as this stuff kind of moves from Bitcoin to blockchain, Ethereum comes out, all of a sudden all these people get interested. Now there's new business models, and it's just like the old days of software. We started out with Perl and doing flat files for moving data.